I'm going to be pulling the motor out of this Jeep, and then I'm going to be putting it back into my Jeep. So this motor is out of a 2003 Jeep Liberty. It is a 3.7 liter V6. It's running good, but this Jeep has a bad transmission. So I just simply just harvesting the engine, and as you can tell, it sounds great. Rev it up. It's sounding good, it's ready to go. Radiator's out, and it was a little bit of a struggle. I got the battery out, air box out, fan shroud out, the water reservoirs out. So just chipping away at it. Here we go. Still chipping away at it. Got the intake off. Got everything on top pulled apart. On bottom, I've started tearing it apart. Ended up pulling the exhaust. Pulled the exhaust out, pulled the starter out, pulled the drive line out. I just barely exposed the get my under here with you and show you that. So the flywheel's exposed, so I can unbolt it from the engine, from the torque converter. I guess it's called a pressure plate or a flywheel. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. Automatic, manual, transmission, whatever. Everything in here is really tight. It's not easy. Not an easy job. These bolts broke. These bolts are still holding. Good thing this Jeep is going to the junker, because that would suck. I'd have to weld that all up. There's no other way to fix it. The bolts just broke. They're all rusted. So yeah, I'm ready to start unbolting the torque converter and start unbolting the engine from the transmission. And then once I get that done, I can get the engine hoist and start lifting this baby out of here once I get the bolts off the motor mounts. So yeah, just still chipping away at it. Whew. This is a job. Got all the transmission bolts out. Got it disconnected from the torque converter, and just ready to hoist it out. Just got to loosen the motor mounts, and then it'll be able to hoist right out of there. So that's where I'm at. I do have one cable down here that I can't get off until it's lifted up out of the motor mount. So that's going to be a little tricky. I'll have to pull it up just a little bit and then undo that cable. But yeah, here we go. So I got the motor mounts loosened up, and I'm starting to lift her out. It's coming out pretty nice. Glad I pulled the radiator earlier in order to be able to do that. There she is. Motor's out. We are officially motorless. Was able to do that without really any major incident. One-man job. Would have been a lot easier with two men, but I did it with one man. So time to clean this place up and get some sleep. We got it out, and it's sitting here ready to be worked on and and ready to be, parts swapped over. First I gotta pull the motor obviously out of the other Jeep that I'm gonna put this in. So there's the other Jeep that it's gonna go in. There's the Jeep that I just pulled this one out of. And yeah, here it is. Alright, here we are. This is Jett, he's helping me. We're gonna be putting this motor into that Jeep right there. So this Jeep, it's got some issues. We're gonna start it up and show you how this Jeep is running pretty awful. It does run though still, so this motor might be rebuildable one day. But we're gonna show you how it runs. And it's kind of hard to get to start because you gotta hit the gas a little bit. But as you can hear, it is knocking. It's barely running. It's running on 4 cylinders or 5 cylinders right now. It's a V6 and it is knocking pretty badly. But it does run, which is kind of cool. It means it's going to be buildable. So we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna spray this down with water because it's all dusty in here. We're gonna pull this motor out. We're gonna put that one in. And then this motor, I don't know, it might be buildable one day. We might be able to strip it down and rebuild it. But that'll be a project for somebody else probably. Alright, here we go. Alright, we did the spray down, cleaned her up inside here a little bit. It's gonna make things way less messy when we get in there. Start digging around, cleaning it up and pulling this motor out. So first thing that's gonna come off is the hood. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna pull these clips off and then these bolts, and then this whole hood's gonna come off. That's gonna give us a lot of room to work in there. Okay, the hood's off. So it's just 4 bolts and then 1 ground wire that you had to get off. Good job, Jett. We got it off without scratching the paint. Alright, so we got the Jeep pulled in all the way. We got the hood off. We're getting ready to start taking stuff apart. Probably going to start with the radiator first. We got ourselves set up with a good light. That's always a good idea. Have some good lighting while you work on stuff. And we're gonna have to clean out our oil drain so we can catch the coolant. That's gonna be one of our first steps to drain this radiator. We'll drain the engine oil eventually too. All right, we got the air box out. We got the battery out. We're gonna start on some electrical pieces right here in the front. And then as we wait for our oil to drain, we'll go from there. Okay, we got the air box off again. This piece right here, it's got 2 PVC pipes that pull vacuum from the sides here and here. Jett just barely loosened up our alternator bolt, so we're going to want to keep track of that on our little chart of bolts over here. We're going to make a little note for alternator. You write alternator in that little box?
Is it A?
A-L-T-E-R-N-A-T-O-R. T-O-R, yep. Alternator. Good job. Okay, we've been pulling some stuff apart out. We got the radiator out. This Jeep has a transmission cooler line, and we were gonna unbolt it, but we couldn't because these lines on the radiator, I'll show you, wouldn't loosen up. This guy right here wouldn't loosen, and neither would this, so we just disconnected it at the rubber part. I don't know if that's probably the wisest way to do it, but it worked for us. And hopefully we didn't damage this at all while we were doing that. Jett's been helping a lot. We had to remove this battery box bolts to get that out of the way a little bit in order to get the radiator out. Also, there were bolts on the condenser. There's a whole bracket right here we had to remove. You can see all those parts over here.
that we're taking off. So, making some good progress. I think the next little bit here we're going to have the AC compressor off, the alternator off, probably the whole intake and the fuel rail off, and all this belt and stuff off, obviously. So that's where we're at. Got the alternator out of here, we got the AC compressor over here. There's just 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 on each, 1, 2, 3 on each, and that's out. So AC compressor's out, alternator's out. Next, so we got the belt off, obviously. So next we're going to keep working on pulling off all this up here. All these wires, the intake, this whole intake's got to come off so we can hoist it out of here. We're taking apart the intake. We've gotten all the electrical off, the injectors, and off the coil packs. Coil packs are out. We're about ready to remove the fuel rail. The fuel rail has little clips that hold on to the injectors. We just removed all those clips. They're all clear and out of the way. So we're going to lift this fuel rail out, and then we'll start taking the intake out. The intake is out. Fuel rail's out. Pretty much all the electrical's disconnected. We still got some stuff down below in the front here. We're going to have to do this power steering pump is going to have to come off, and a few more little minor electrical things, and then we can roll under the car and get to work down there. So next step is power steering, I think. Okay, we got the intake all apart and all the stuff disconnected up here. Jett's presently jacking up the truck, or the Jeep, getting it ready. He's lifting the Jeep so we can roll under there and take apart the transmission and other parts, starter, exhaust, all the things that have to come out. He's doing a good job.
It looks like the jack's sweating.
Heavy lifting, huh? You got it, Jett. You got it. Alright, we're about ready to roll under there and get started. We'll see what the first thing we have to do down here is. Alright, I can already see. First thing we're going to need to do is get this skid plate off.
Skid plate?
Yeah, give us access to the stuff we need. We're also going to need to take this driveline off, these exhaust pipes off.
I'm exhausted.
Funny, Jett. Might have to loosen these bolts in order to get the exhaust.
Watch it for that. Dripping your mouth.
But, well, that's fine. So, we gotta get these exhaust bolts off, these exhaust bolts off, and then the upper ones too. And this starter's gonna have to come off. We got driveline out. We got starter out. We got the bell housing out. This is exposing our flywheel and our torque converter bolts. What else did we do down here? That's about it. So now we're going to do exhaust. Take the exhaust pipes off here and here, and then make sure everything's unplugged, and then we'll do the motor mounts right here and over here, and then we'll be set. So this one's going a lot faster. There's Jett, he's still helping me out. The transmission bolts are all out, the motor mounts are loosened, and we're about ready to bring the hoist in to get this puppy out of here. Just like there always is, there's a cable or something down here. I can't seem to get it to come loose. I'm gonna have to get it once I've got it lifted up a little bit. But other than that, I think we're ready to come out. So let's get to it. Okay, motor's out. Got it out of there with pretty much no incident, just One man lifting it out little by little. Pretty sure everything's in good shape still. We didn't rupture the AC lines, which is good. Everything's pretty good. Pulled her out, she looks exactly the same, which is good news. Should be able to bolt up just fine. Now I got the, we're starting to put the motor back into the Jeep. We realized the flywheel is different because it's a different transmission. There was also this ring inside of here that I had to extract. I did that just drilling it out. Is this ring right here that was made for the smaller transmission. So as you can see, I just drilled out the edges of it until it came free. So now everything looks like it should fit, and we're lifting it up and we're getting ready to put it in there.
And
Alright guys, I got it all put back together. This is the moment of truth. I've got all the oil in it, I've got all the coolant in it, I've got all the electrical parts hooked up, the vacuum parts. I'm going to crank it over and we're going to find out if I did everything right. I just found a mistake right there. I didn't have that hose clamp on yet. This could be the last one. Hopefully I didn't miss any others. I still need to, I'm going to have to start it up and then burp all the coolant, but what we're really hoping for is it just starts and runs, because for groomers, some of these Jeeps have different timing and the computers don't work. So everybody pray and cross your fingers.
what's that noise?
Sure, there are some funny noises coming from these belts. We'll figure it out. Normal, it's just coolant that I spilled onto the engine.
Is that gonna hurt anyone?
Yeah, this is why I think we should have electric cars.
Put every bolt back together.
These machines ruin the environment.
Bolts. Don't have the hood on yet.
You know, why is it that, I just realized.
Pretty good, Dave.
I know.
You, damn it, I just realized something. You really damage nature. I mean, you ride your motorboat on lakes that were filled with fish. And marine biologists had to fish out the blue trout because they were doing it.
Let's see if that fixes our sound. It's coming from our power steering.
What does that mean? What's power steering?
It helps the steering wheels turn easily, so it's not starting to turn. It still has to start with the push button though.
Don't you know it's coming from the belt?
It's quieting down now that I fixed that fluid in the power steering. We add some more coolant.
How do you get the bubbles out though?
Just running it with the coolant reservoir open, bubbles will come up to the reservoir.
Like trying to start up my computer.
It's like burping a child. It's got some bubbles in there coming.
No, that's like trying to start, remember that old computer we used to have? Well, starting it up is just like this. So that is just like trying to start up that computer.
Fan's turning on. It's a good sign. Sounds pretty okay.
What is that?
Your computer. couldn't 30.
Timing's
sit
definitely
there
right.
Setting the 30 chunks.
It
in
wouldn't run
Minecraft.
very well at all. The timing's bad. Looking pretty okay. I'm gonna turn on the air conditioner in the freezer. Turn on, Jett. Low and cold. Nice and cold.
Something
Anytime.
smells off in the air conditioning.
Alright, I'm gonna turn the heater on now so we can get this thing burped out properly.
Yep, I feel the heat.
Check the charging system.
When you get it all ready, are you going to use the test drive?
Check the charging system, whether we know whether or not we're charging the battery or not. Yeah, we're good. Battery's charging. That was a double transplant right there that I did. A double bypass transplant.
Most candidates take months to do this. It only took you like a week.
We did a full-on heart transplant in this puppy.